Welcome to the Polyvagal Institute. We are so excited that you're here with us today, and very happy that you're joining our free community event series, A New Year's Journey of Self-Care. Today, we're delighted to welcome Deb Dana, world-renowned therapist, author, and co-founder of the Polyvagal Institute. And little side note, Deb actually was my first introduction to polyvagal theory when a therapist actually shared with me her book, Polyvagal Theory and Therapy. So I'm very excited to be here today with Deb. A few introductions before we get started. My name is Susie Cavassa. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Polyvagal Institute. Also online with me today is Jerry Masiola, PVI's Media Director, and Stephanie D'Angelo, PVI's Community Development Director. We're all here to support your online experience during the session, so you'll see us chiming in and chat and answering questions as well. For those of you who are new to PVI, I'll share a little bit about us. We're an international nonprofit organization based in the United States with the mission of creating a safe and connected world through the principles of polyvagal theory. We provide education, training, and resources to a global audience of learners. If you haven't already, we invite you to check us out at polyvagal.org. There's lots of great resources there. And then before we get started, I'm quickly going to pass it to Stephanie to do a little housekeeping.
Great. Thanks, Susie. As you might know, this is the 6th event in our free community event series, A New Year's Journey to Self-Care. If you're not able to attend in real time, we'll be emailing out the recording of each session within 48 hours of the live event. You're invited to join us with cameras on, mics off. You're encouraged to turn your camera on if you feel comfortable, but if you don't, we just ask that you keep your microphone muted throughout our webinar so that attendees can hear the presentation. Closed captioning is available via Zoom. You may turn those on at the settings at the bottom of your screen. Now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker today, Deb Dana. She's a PVI course partner, co-founder of the Polyvagal Institute. She's known worldwide for translating the principles of polyvagal theory for use by clinicians in therapeutic settings and the rest of the world, how to decipher polyvagal theory. Today, Deb will be sharing insights from her newest book, The Nervous System Workbook, a guide to understanding and befriending your unique nervous system and to finding your way back to safety and calm in times of stress. Deb, thank you so much for being here. We are so thrilled to have you and to spend this time with you. Thank you so much, and take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. It's lovely to be here. I was just looking at names and looking at faces and noticing people feel familiar, which is lovely. And then there are new people, new parts of our polyvagal family. So thanks everybody for joining, for being here. You talked about the workbook and the coming home to yourself using polyvagal theory to ease anxiety, find safety. And I think we're in that time in the world, aren't we, where we so need ways to anchor in regulation, right? The world is bringing us these challenges over and over, and this safety danger equation that is always coming at us, cues of danger, cues of safety, can feel very unbalanced very quickly. So I'm actually really pleased that the Nervous System Workbook came out at this moment, because it gives us some easy ways to begin to befriend and then become active operators of our nervous system. So what I wanted to do today was I wanted to take you through a few of the exercises so you could get a flavor for what they feel like. And Susie and Steph have volunteered to do the exercises. I'm going to invite you all to do them along with us as well. The workbook is divided into two sections. The part one is the befriending section. So it really is the get to know your nervous system, so that in section 2 is the coming home to safety and connection. You can then apply what you've learned, and the exercises will make a bit more sense. I was telling Stephanie and Susie that I really like the feel of the workbook. When you write something you get pages back online, you get the proof pages back, but you never get to feel it and see it and hold it until it's actually printed. And so the interesting part is to get it in the mail and think, oh, I hope I like it, right? And for this one, I will share a personal story around the Nervous System Workbook. I was writing it in the last year of my husband's life. It was a work that I had begun, and work for me is a regulating resource. It's one of the things I reach for. So I was writing it as Bob was in his last year, and actually finished it after he had died. And I, when I got it and started reading it, I thought, oh, I don't remember writing some of these. That's the nature of grief, right? Is that you move forward and you do what you need to do, but sometimes you don't remember all of it. And so it was a sort of an odd experience to go through it and think, oh, I really like this, and I'm not sure I remember writing it. So just to bring you along on my inner journey to bringing this into publication. So I wanted to start with your pathways circle, and I invited Susie and Steph to get colored markers and paper. So if you have paper and any kind of colored markers, great. If you don't, you can use regular pen and just draw shapes or name colors. But part of the workbook, the joy of the workbook, is bringing new ways of doing things to life. So a lot of the exercises use color, use making maps, and so it's kind of fun. So let's start with the pathways circle, because these are the 4 pathways of connection, and these are the things I think that are really being challenged in this moment of time that we're in. Right? We have 4 pathways. We have a pathway to self, to others, to the world, and to spirit. Right? And those 4 pathways, we travel in different amounts with different senses of ease. I'm going to read you the very beginning of this. When you bring the 4 connections together within a circle, in addition to seeing the individual pathways of self, other, the world, and spirit, you see them in relation to each other and notice the balance or imbalance between them. And that's really what we're doing with the nervous system. We are always looking for the relationship between something, in this case, between the 4 pathways of connection. When we think about our nervous system in states, we're always looking at the relationship between ventral, sympathetic, and dorsal. We're not just looking at one, we're looking at how these 3 are in relationship with each other. So with the pathways circle, we're looking at how these 4 pathways all are coming into our experience. You may discover that you rely on some pathways and rarely connect with others, or you may find that you travel the 4 pathways with similar frequency. Don't worry if your sections are unbalanced or some sections are less filled than others. Most people don't have a perfect balance and find one of the pathways is harder to access and less commonly used. So again, the workbook starts with some sort of an explanation about the exercise and then an invitation to do it. So I'm going to invite you, Steph and Susie, to draw a big circle and then divide it into 4 quadrants. And I'll show you what it looks like in the workbook. It looks like this, right? It's a circle with 4 quadrants. And then you're just going to label the quadrants: self, other, the world, and spirit. And all of you join in from wherever you are in the world, you can do the same thing: self, other, the world, and spirit. That's beautiful. You got it.
Okay.
That's beautiful. All right. So now the question is going to be, as you look at each of those quadrants, and you can choose a color or colors, and think how much do I use that one? How full is that quadrant? And go ahead and fill each quadrant according to how full it feels. Which do you rely on? Which one do you use less often? And again, as they're doing this, I'm just going to have us remember that when we do things with the nervous system, we're talking about this moment in time, right? In this moment that I'm in. So it might be today, it feels this, might be this week, this month, might be I'm in a pattern of this feeling this way, or it may be that tomorrow everything changes, right? So this is a living document that we're with. We're doing it as of this moment today. So go ahead and fill in your 4 quadrants.
Deb, I have a question.
Yeah,
So
sure.
in my 4 quadrants,
Yeah.
in this moment,
Yep.
what am I writing in the circle?
You're gonna your quadrants like this,
Yeah.
right? So you might just color in as much of it as you think you're using in this moment,
Gotcha.
and then each one's going to be filled in to a certain level. So we'll start with that.
So as much as you're using. Okay.
So for instance, for me, my spirit quadrant is filled in just a little, because that's the pathway of connection I'm still exploring and find hard to access. So the 4 quadrants are self, other, the world, and spirit. Those are the 4 pathways that are open to us as humans. And we travel in varying, oh, that's beautiful. Monica just held hers up. Held it up again, Monica. Yeah, it's beautiful. Right? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is
And
mine.
there's Stephanie's. Let's see. Put it in the middle.
Yeah.
There you go. Self, other. Oh, lovely. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And Susie's using lots of colors because I know she loves colors. Uh-huh.
Deb,
Yeah,
could you
Bob.
identify the difference between self and spirit for our audience?
Sure. Self is how are all of the parts of me, or the way that I connect with my own embodied experience. And spirit is how I connect with something bigger than me, whatever spirit means to you. Right. Oh yeah, look at that. There's Susie's. Lovely.
Nice.
Other is is my relationship with other humans, other mammals. And the world is how I connect with the world around me. Right.
Deb, I just wanted to
Yeah.
tell you, I've put a shared view up with the 3 of you and the gallery view. So if people would like to hold up their drawings like Shannon's doing, please feel free to do that.
Nice. Nice. So Stephanie, you've got, I love it. Yeah. And Susie and Monica, we got beautiful ones. So then the next step with this, you know, you're beginning to notice how you are traveling those 4 pathways. Which one do you, oh, Fernanda, hold it up again. I missed you. Oop, she disappeared. You're noticing how you, there it is. Oh, lovely. Thank you. Thank you. You're noticing how you travel those pathways, right? Which ones you reach for. And if you compare yours with other people, the work of the nervous system is to be able to be anchored in yours and be curious about somebody else's, right? Like your spirit might be very full where mine is very empty. Right. And we're curious about that. There's no meaning making or motivation when it comes to the nervous system. It simply is moving where it can. Right. So take a moment and look at your circles and just notice for yourself. Right. Where are you leaning more into? Where's the area that is least traveled? What's your overall feeling of connection? What's your sense of connection in this moment as you look at what are you prompted to want to do? Because that's what the nervous system does, gives us information. Information goes to the brain makes up some sense, makes sense of what's happening, and is going to lead you somewhere. Right. So when that information comes to your brain, what are you led to want to do next? Right. And again, if we can stay anchored in the bit of curiosity, the self-compassion, compassion that comes from ventral, we will be led somewhere that feels nourishing. rather than somewhere that feels challenging or draining. We want to feel filled, right? Where do you get led, Steph or Susie? What happens when you look at your...
I'll share when I look at mine. I created these little dots in spirit, and I
I
didn't
saw
know.
that. Yeah.
And I think it's because that's where my nervous system wants to go to. Like, I want to explore that further, and I haven't. So for some reason, my nervous system wanted to kind of note that.
That's beautiful. And is spirit the least filled
It's
of
the least
yours?
filled.
Yeah.
It's close to the world, but it's the least filled, but I wanted to fill it more.
Yeah. So there's a longing to
Yeah, there's
fill
a
it.
longing. There's a longing.
And does that longing feel like it comes from curiosity and a reach for rather than a fear of?
Yes, definitely curiosity,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So it's a ventral anchored longing rather than a sympathetically driven anxiety or fear. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What's your most filled?
Self.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So you're really in that embodied place where you can hear and listen and be with and move through the world in that place. Yeah, beautiful. Love it. How about you, Steph? What did you find?
So it's interesting because mine's the opposite. Mine is the spirit is the most filled,
I saw that. Yeah.
and that the spirit leads me to more towards the others and the environment, the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if we think about the world, right, as the environment, as the climate of political climate, all those things, is the least filled.
Ah,
That so I would say the spirit, that ventral connection to spirit, really leads me to my connection to other people and myself,
nice, nice.
and the world just being like the least important of all those things to me.
Mm, I love that. I have some awe of that spirit is so full for you. Because like Stephanie, I'm sort of in that place of a longing. I mean, like Susie, of a longing to explore that, whereas you're in that place of really feeling filled by spirit. That's lovely. So when you look at your circle, what are you prompted to want to do? Where does it take you?
What I would say my longing, the way that it would take me would be to be able to navigate the world better.
Mm,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah,
reality of the world, the
yeah.
physical environment, yeah.
Yeah. So in some ways you're less connected to that pathway of the world, and when you were speaking about it, it sounded like that was sort of a protective distance from it, perhaps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
At least a way to navigate it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. And see, for you, you've got a strong anchor in spirit, which you say then helps you navigate, right? Brings you into connection with self and others, and can also be an anchor for connection with the world, but your system is really clearly telling you not in such big amounts,
Yeah.
right? That would overwhelm. Yeah. 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 Which is a great sort of segue into the next exercise that I wanted to do, because it's talking about how do we stretch our system and not stress our system, right? Because the nervous system needs us to try new things, right? We don't want to stay stagnant. We want to be moving. We want to stretch. And it's very wise about telling us when it's too much or when enough is enough, right? But our brain, on the other hand, loves to override that, loves to try and overrule what your nervous system knows, right? One of the nervous system beliefs that I hold that is really helping me in this moment in time in my own world is my belief that the nervous system knows, and the nervous system knows how to bring me back to regulation, right? And I think if we can, when we're steeped in polyvagal theory, there are all sorts of beliefs about the nervous system. And when we find one that really lands for us and hold on to it, it really helps us as we navigate our own personal struggles and struggles in the larger world. So for me, my nervous system knows the way has been something that I've been holding on to for the past year. And that belief, that true belief, my nervous system knows the way, has helped me through a lot of challenging times, and holding on to that belief helps me stay strong in my own system when other people are trying to tell me what to do. Anybody else have people trying to tell you what to do? Yeah. So, when you have that belief, oh, my nervous system knows what I need, it knows what is right for me, then I can hold on to that. It makes it a little easier. And I think that's what we bring to our work with others. We have that belief. The nervous system knows how to come to regulation. It will take us there. It knows the way. So this next exercise comes out of the work with others where they push and they got to power through, right? The belief that no pain, no gain. And the nervous system does not work on that principle. That's not the way it works. So I'm going to read you just a couple bits of the between stretch and stress exercise. Have you ever thought you needed to take a break but didn't heed that warning and made a mess of what you were doing? Yep. Have you ever told yourself it was okay to not finish a job in one day, but pushed yourself anyway to get the job done and ended up feeling sick the next day? I know I've done that too, right? People are saying, absolutely, thank you for joining me in that, right? When you feel as if you need to power through an experience or suffer to see results, you are stressing your nervous system and overlooking the signs that you are dysregulated. You're no longer acting out of a desire to change, but from a fear of failing, and you stay stuck in old patterns. Moving in a new direction requires you to stretch by trying something a bit different. The goal is to challenge yourself in the moment in a way that keeps you feeling regulated while reaching for something new, a new behavior, a new response, a new story. So regulated and reaching is what we're always trying to do, right? We regulate, we reach, we regulate, right? So this exercise looks like this. I'm going to invite you to create something that looks like this. 4 boxes. Just put 4 boxes on a page. All right, 4 boxes on a page, and we're going to label them. The first one, stretch. The second one is appreciate. The third one is stress. And the fourth one is survive. All right. I love that people are putting things in the chat. I'm just seeing things as they go by. I'm trying not to get distracted, but there you go. Page 123. Thank you. Whoever has the workbook, thank you so much. All right. So we're going to fill in the boxes, right? What is it like in the stretch spot? We're going to start there, right? How do you know you're in stretch? How does your nervous system show you that it's supporting you? It's on board with making a change. Right? It could be a body sensation. It could be a thought, a belief you have. It might be an emotion. It might be a behavior. But how do you know? I'm in stretch right now. I'm trying something a bit different that's within the degree of challenge that my nervous system can say yes to. And that's always where we're dipping a toe in first. We're dipping a toe in stretch. Energized, engaged, excited. I like those. An inner yes. Yeah, we need that inner yes. Muscle tension that leads to relaxation. Curious, right? What you're identifying is your nervous system is having enough of that ventral energy active and alive so that you can stretch. Inspired creative flow. Small smile, open, right? You're getting these lovely clues from your nervous system, right? So we're gonna move from stretch. The next place we want to go is appreciate, because we try something a bit different. We stretch, we reach for it, and then we want to settle into it and appreciate how our nervous system allowed us to do that. Appreciate what it feels like, right? So what are the signs that you're settling into a new pattern, that you successfully reached for something and had, you can now appreciate that? What are the signs? Put that in the appreciate box. How do you know that moment? And appreciate can feel really big. We can want a big celebration. We might want to jump up and down and say yay, or sometimes it's a very quiet appreciation, right? It's just a quiet sort of, oh, that felt good. So all the ways that you might appreciate. And again, we want to create sort of a big menu, a big list of the ways we appreciate, because sometimes I do want to jump up and down and say Yahoo, and other times I just put my hand over my heart and go, oh, yes. All right. So there's a continuum of response. Also, what the nervous system needs is needs a continuum always, right? We want to be sure we're inviting all of the ways the nervous system can respond into our awareness. Right? We don't want to limit that. I often say there's no right or wrong way. There's just the way of your nervous system, right? So your nervous system is giving you the information. And lots of people are putting their responses in the chat. It's lovely. So the stretch and appreciate is all under the influence of ventral, right? That's all moving us forward. That's all having the right degree of challenge for our nervous system so we can create a new pattern, right? Think of a change you want to make, right? And you're here and the change is here. And you can't just go there, right? We have to take the little shaping steps from here to there. And that the stretch and appreciate helps us take those little steps, right? The nervous system is shaped by doing small things over and over. That's what we know about how change happens, right? It's a gentle shaping process, right? Helpful for us to realize in our own personal lives, helpful in our work with others, whatever kind of work we're doing, whether we're in a helping profession, whether we're, parenting, whether we're partnering, right? Change happens by small things shaping in the direction of connection, right? And as soon as we stress, which is where we're going next, the nervous system begins to go into a survival state. So we're going to go to stress first, right? So go to the stress box on your paper, right? And what does this feel like? What are the flavors of stress for you? How do you know you've pushed too hard? How does your nervous system show you what happens in your body? Maybe what some of the thoughts are? What's an emotion that comes up? Maybe you get a bit anxious or a bit angry, right? Maybe you feel a bit overwhelmed. Because when we enter stress, we begin to no longer be shaping towards change. We begin to deepen the pattern that we're in already. So how do you know? Oh, feeling like I'm drowning, cold, tears, doubt, pressure, tense, lashing out. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, our nervous systems, as I'm reading these, I think, yep, me too, because our nervous systems have very similar responses, right? Remember, the nervous system is the common denominator in our human experience. The common denominator. We all have one that works basically around the same organizing principles that Steve has brilliantly illustrated for us, right? This is bringing the hierarchy into being. When we're in the stretch and appreciate, we're at the top of the hierarchy in ventral. or at least have enough ventral active and alive. We have a critical mass so that we're moving forward toward the change we want to make. When we move into stress, we begin to move down the hierarchy into sympathetic and dorsal. Fatigue, my heart felt cold. That was an interesting one. Overwhelm. Yeah, yeah. Like an elephant on my chest. It's so interesting because a lot of these are the body sensations that are coming in the chat. Your nervous system will tell you very clearly, won't it? Whether you're in stretch, appreciate, or now stress. Your nervous system sends you the message. The problem is we often ignore it. Right. And when we ignore the message, the nervous system is simply going to speak louder. Right. In whatever way it does, it's going to take more and more intense actions to get your attention. And physically, for any of us who have had physical symptoms, physical illness, physical challenges, our nervous system probably was speaking to us long ago and we didn't listen. I know that's true for me. Right. I ended up with a physical issue that had I paid attention when the nervous system was first giving me the clues, I would not have ended up where I was. Right. All right. So stress is the warning sign, right? If we can pay attention when we're in the stress box, we can move back pretty easily. We can get back to stretch, right? What happens for many of us, because we're not taught to tune into our nervous system, we're not taught to do that. We're actually probably taught to override our nervous system's information. Our brain says no. And I will say, if the brain and the nervous system are not on the same page, in the moment, your brain may win, but in the long run, your nervous system is going to win, right? So part of the work of the Nervous System Workbook is how do we tune in and listen, get the information in the beginning. So we're going to move to the last box. We're going to move to survive. Let's go to survive, right? How do you recognize that you're now simply reinforcing your old survival pattern? What happens in your body? How's your body show you? Yep, survival pattern. Habitual response is there. Familiar pattern of protection. How does your body show you? What are some of your thoughts? What are some of the things you do? What are some of your feelings that happen here in survival? Oh, Monica's got a beautiful illustrated box there. I love it. Yeah. Uh-huh. Are you a
Deb,
dorsal dweller, Monica? Your survive looks like my dorsal would. Just, yep, down in despair. Yeah.
Deb, could you help
Yeah.
decipher for some of our viewers the distinction between the discomfort and stretch and stress?
Yep. So stretch, when we're stretching, we have a neuroception of safety or safe enough. So remember, neuroception is the way the nervous system takes in information from inside your body, from the environment around you, and from your connection to others. And neuroception, the cues of safety outweigh the cues of danger when you're in stretch and appreciate. So I'm feeling regulated enough, safe enough, ready enough. There's a sense of, ooh, I'm safe enough in the world. I can safely explore this. When you hit stress, the neuroception changes from one of safety to one of unsafety, from a welcome to a warning, or from safety to a bit, on edge, unnerved, right? So neuroception, the other brilliant organizing principle Steve has given us, is a way to judge, where am I, right? Hope that helps.
That helps. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hope
So
that
we're in
helps.
survive now. And remember, once you are in full survive, you simply are in an old pattern of protection, right? Change cannot happen, not because you don't want it to, but because your biology will not allow it. So it's not, I'm unwilling. And we make that mistake all the time. We say, it must be me. I'm not trying hard enough. I don't want it badly enough. Or we look at others and say the same thing. They're not trying. They could if they wanted, right? But it's not that unwillingness. It's that I'm unable, right? I'm biologically unable now, right? Because everything that was available to me when I was in stretch and appreciate is no longer available, right? I am now in sympathetic or dorsal, right? And the only thing I can do is be in that state and be in that old pattern of protection. All right, so take a moment and just look at your 4 boxes. Just see what your nervous system just showed you as you filled in your 4 boxes. It's so important to be familiar with all of them. For me, the one that I found I wanted to really track clearly in the beginning was the stress box, right? So that I knew when I had crossed a line from stretching and appreciating, was pushing too hard and I was now in stress, because I could take a step back and come back. Once I'm in survive, it's a long way back, right? But in stress, I can gently come back if I can be reminded, right? So what did you guys find, Susie or Steph? What were you curious about? What did you discover that was interesting?
I can share. For me, the stress was interesting because I noticed one of the keys for me was when I get annoyed with people.
Mm, mhm,
Because I think when I'm in stretch or appreciate, I'm curious and I like to connect with people. I'm an extroverted person, but a good warning for me is if I start feeling annoyed with people or frantic,
mhm.
definite sign that it's kind of too much for my nervous system.
Yeah, yeah. And if you were a colleague of mine, what would be an outward sign for me that you had entered into the annoyed with me? What would be something that I might observe and see?
I think I get more tense and probably more short and quick.
So speaking shortly, a little more quick, a little more, yeah, got it. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
noticing I was with my family yesterday and I love my family and had, you know,
Mm.
come from a large family and I was sitting with everybody in there and I'm the youngest and I just noticed I was getting annoyed,
Mm-hmm.
getting short, and then I just kind of shut off.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. I was
yeah,
like, oh, that's if I start feeling irritated with people.
yeah, yeah. And then that protective response, I'm just going to shut off.
Yep.
Yeah,
Stop
yeah,
talking.
yeah. So it's lovely because this, again, you're getting all this information and then you can think, what might I do differently next time? Right?
Mhm.
Because it will happen again. Happens for all of us. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for that. How about you, Steph? Anything you want to share?
Okay, so I'm totally a crier.
Okay.
Like when I feel stressed, um, I I feel very physical. So I feel a heaviness in my chest.
Mm.
I might feel some anxiety, might want to eat a lot of junk food. I might
Ah,
do that as a way to modify that
yeah.
mood. But I'm a very open person. I will just literally sit here and like tell you what I think and just start to cry. And that
Mm-hmm.
helps to kind of alleviate that. But that's like my stress thing. I know if I feel that stuff rising up, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm really upset and it's gonna
Mm.
come out. I'm gonna cry. That's just it.
Yeah. And
Like,
it sounds like the crying helps you get back, though.
yeah,
It
I'm,
releases and helps you. Yeah.
it's part of that activation, deactivation for me. I feel it rise up. I feel it in my chest. Then I feel
Yeah.
it in my throat. It's going to come out.
Yeah.
I cry. And I'll say, even to people that I'm having this like important conversation with, I'll say, well, like it's just going to come out. Don't be upset by the
Yeah.
upset. It just has to come out. And then it goes right back down to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
deactivation. It's just my
So
process.
how good are you at staying on the stretch and appreciate side of this, of your 4 boxes?
I
Do you
spend a
wander
lot of
into do you spend a lot of time in stress? Do you wander to
no.
stress and come back? No.
I spend a lot of time in the appreciation.
Nice.
What I
Nice.
noticed is that the discomfort that comes in the stretch, if
Mm-hmm.
you can become comfortable with being uncomfortable or uncertainty.
Mhm.
And one of my things that I've been working on for 20 years is to fall in love with uncertainty,
Mhm.
because that is really the sweet
Yeah.
spot for me.
Nice.
If I can stay in the feeling
Yeah.
uncomfortable,
Yeah.
then I can find these little appreciation
Yeah.
places that really help me tremendously.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because unfamiliar and unpredictable are commonly cues of danger to the nervous system.
Mhm.
So we're trying to help our nervous system, think unfamiliar and unpredictable can be exciting and interesting rather than scary and dangerous. And it's a lifelong practice, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. It sure
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, um, I wanted to do, I don't know if we have questions or not. I don't know where we are, Steph, but I wanted to do one more practice, and then we can see what we need to do. But I wanted to bring into, as we're, a third practice, the savoring practice, because again, savoring is a short, um, 20-second, 30-second at the most practice that helps us really nourish our nervous systems by holding on to a moment of okayness, right? And I think in the world that we're living in right now, where things are so unpredictable, unfamiliar, and it feels like our nervous system is being challenged in every moment, that when we find those moments that we can hold on to and savor, right? Then we're reminding our nervous system that there are moments of okayness, and our system will take that in and will again travel that pathway to ventral regulation, right? So again, I'm gonna read you just the beginning of this and then take you through the practice. Savoring is a way to make the most of a moment of safety and regulation. It's about seeing and celebrating the little things in everyday life. When we bring these moments into awareness and actively engage in attending to them, the benefits are both immediate, as we feel anchored in safety, and long term, with gains in physical and emotional well-being. So I'm gonna take you through as a simple attend, appreciate, amplify practice that we all can do. But before we start, we want to remember that savoring is about amplifying a moment of regulation, a moment of safety. And for all of us, that amplification can turn into dampening very quickly. So before we start the savoring practice, I'm going to invite you to identify what's a dampening thought that you routinely hear, right? Because we all have them. Because we want to know what it is, so that if it comes in when we're savoring, we simply stop savoring for the moment. So my dampening thought that I've been feeling for a few months now is, it's not fair that I get to feel this good thing when so many others are suffering. So it's that it's not fair dampening thought. So just take a moment and notice for you, what's your dampening thought? Wanda says, I don't have time for that. Yeah, that's another good one, right? Yeah. People often think, it won't last. Yes, yes. I should. Yeah, should is always a dampening thought. Should is a sympathetically driven thought. I call sympathetic sometimes the land of should, right? That's where all our shoulds live, in sympathetic. Yeah. How is this going to help, right? You're making it up. I got the short end of the stick. I don't matter. I come last. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to feel good. Yeah, it's not real. I'm making it up. I'm not enough. The other shoe's about to drop, right? As I'm reading these, you're thinking, oh, yep, that one, right? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these are the dampening thoughts that exist in all of us. So when we know what our dampening thought is, or thoughts, we can look for it when we're doing the savoring practice. All right. So I'm going to invite you to think of a moment. We can do this. We can reflect on this. You can savor the past. You can savor the present. You can savor the future. We're gonna take a reflective moment. We're gonna savor a moment that has already happened. So think of a moment of okayness, a moment of good enough, safe enough, and bring it back to mind, right? Choose a moment. This is the attend. Appreciate, hold this moment in your awareness and just appreciate its presence. And the third A is amplify. Stay with this moment. I'll give you 20 seconds to stay with it. Soak in the sights, the sounds, the sensations, and the story that come with it. And now come on back. Right? It's a very simple practice. It's a simple practice, which again is what we need, right? And I know somebody said, Sage says, still trying to choose when I need to go slower. I get that. I get that. Absolutely. We'll try it again. So you can think of the one you want to try again, right? The 3 A's are attend, appreciate, and amplify, right? Attend, appreciate, amplify. So I'm going to give you a moment. See if you can find another moment you'd like to savor. Tiny moment. I love it. Marina says, looking out my window, watching birds pollinate the buttlebrush flowers on the tree, right? Simple. Something simple. Yeah. First coffee. Uh-huh. Yep. Anything in nature. Yes. Yeah. Ooh, my cat sitting on my lap. Yes. Driving through the redwoods. See, even hearing other people savoring is so lovely too. Brings it alive for us, right? Right. I'm outside my old high school about to give a presentation. Good reminder of how far I've come. Yes, exactly. All right. So think of another moment you want to savor, right? And attend to it. Bring it to life. Hold it in your awareness to appreciate its presence and soak in the sights, the sounds, the sensations, and the story that come with it. And then come on back. All right. As you learn to savor, right, and there's a lot of research on savoring. It's an interesting experience that's become a practice that has research behind it. And why we wanted to identify the dampening thought is if dampening comes in while you're savoring, you simply stop. This is one of those, you don't push through it, right? You say, okay, done for now, and you can go back and savor later. Right? This is your nervous system saying, not now, right? You can savor up to 30 seconds. If when you get to the end of 30 seconds, you want to keep on savoring, you can, but it becomes something different. It's some sort of a mindfulness practice. Savoring is up to 30 seconds at the most. I will tell you, I've been savoring for a long time and practicing with people. I get to somewhere around 18 seconds and my nervous system says, that's it, you're done, that's good, right? So I've learned to accept that for whatever reason, I'm an 18-second savorer. And you can decide what you are. You can figure it out. If you're inviting other people to savor and it's a new experience, to put your attention on something good and hold it in your awareness, it may be a very short savor in the beginning. It may be 3 to 5 seconds before the dampening thought comes in. Nothing wrong with that. The more you savor, the more experienced you become with it, and it's going to be a little easier to do. And at some point, you'll say, I'm done, right? That's as much as I can tolerate savoring. Again, you want to stay on the stretch, appreciate side of that exercise we did just before we savored. All right. Yes, so somebody said, should we stop when we get dampening? Yes, you should just stop. And it's interesting, and this is really hard for people, for curious humans, for clients, for any of us. It's hard to think I should just stop, right? We think, oh, I should figure it out. I should work with trying to do it better. All of these things. In the savoring practice, when the dampening comes in, just stop. And then you can try again later with a different experience, right? Your nervous system is saying very clearly, not now, enough, right? The same way it does when you do those 4 boxes. When you hit stress, go back. It's too big a challenge for your nervous system, right? That is not to say that you're giving up. You are honoring the wisdom of your nervous system. You are partnering with it. When it says enough, you're saying, I hear you. I'm going to respect the wisdom. I'm going to go back to stretching, right? I'm going to not be in the stress or try to power through. Yeah. Yeah. So I would say one last thing before there may be questions. I don't know. But it's interesting in the time that we're living in right now. And I've been out in the world teaching in person a bit, which I dearly love, to be with other nervous systems in a space together. This is lovely. And I have Stephanie and Susie to do with, and you guys are holding up pictures and I see you and read the comments, but being in a space together, nervous system to nervous system, is such a joy, isn't it? So I'm hoping that there will be more of that in the coming year. But I was teaching last week in Grand Rapids, and I was telling people that they were asking, what do we do in the world we're in now, right? This world that feels so challenging. And one of the things that I truly believe and I think can help is very simply thinking, of regulation as a form of resistance, right? That a regulated nervous system is a way to stand in your own belief and offer that to the world, right? Dysregulation, which we see so much of right now, is a survival strategy that then feels like a cue of danger to me, right? So, if we can all find our way to regulation and the workbook, the courses on PVI, there are all sorts of ways to find our way to a bit more regulation. I think it's a beautiful form of resistance, right? And I also want to say, none of us are regulated all the time. None of us, right? Remember that. Every human dysregulates many times a day. That the goal is not to stay regulated all the time. The goal is to know when I have dysregulated and have pathways to come back to regulation. And that's what this most current book, the Nervous System Workbook, is really trying to help you build. There are lots of practices, and some of them you're going to say, well, that one doesn't fit for me at all. And another one you're going to say, well, I like this one, right? That's my hope, is that you'll find some practices that your system says yes to. And when you find the ones it says no to, you just say, never mind, Deb, that one's not for me. And that is perfectly fine. Yeah. All right. Are there questions, Stephanie or Susie? Do we have any?
There are definitely a lot of questions. Let me go ahead and go through these. Do you have the book, first of all? Do you have the book with you?
I do.
If you could hold it up, everybody was asking to see
There it is.
the book. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
So one of the questions was about dampening. So if you get, I'll just read the question. If you get a dampening thought such as no time, but that is your struggle and anxiety may be making time is what you really need, is stopping with the dampening thought always the way?
It is. When you're savoring, when you get a dampening thought, stop, right? Just stop. Do not try to push through that. Then if you get, like I know what my dampening thought is. So if your dampening thought is, I don't have time, that you can take that to a different place and work with that, right? Can I bring some ventral to that thought, I don't have time, right? So interesting. There's another practice in the workbook. It's the story of 3 states. So if the dampening thought is I don't have time, right? It's about, I never can savor because I don't have time. In sympathetic, the story is something about, if I take time to do this, what will happen? right? There's a sympathetic story there. In dorsal, there's a different story. If I take time to savor, there's a different story, right? Probably my dorsal story might be if I take time to savor, I'll never do anything. My sympathetic story might be if I take time to savor, I should be doing something else. My ventral story, and again, the practice is in the book, you can take yourself through it, but the ventral story is going to have some sort of hope and possibility. So my ventral story might be if I take time to savor the 20 seconds I have time for the 20 seconds. There's a different feeling because your state creates your story, right? So if you come up with like my dampening thought, it's not fair that I get to experience this when so many people don't, right? That's a larger question for my nervous system that I take somewhere else. But when it comes up with dampening, I simply say, okay, it's interrupted it, I'm done. Yeah.
So let me just reiterate this. So what you're saying is in the context of the practice is when you are saying to yourself, when you're doing this, you're not saying like in life, I'm thinking I'm dysregulated because I don't have time that I should be doing that. You're really saying the practice, the repetition of doing a practice like this is going to help to retune the nervous system so that you can find your gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you're savoring and after 20 seconds that dampening thought comes in, celebrate the fact that you've had 20 seconds of savoring. Right? If it comes in after 5 seconds, celebrate the fact that you had 5 seconds of savoring before the dampening came in. Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you're starting to highlight and identify what those dampening thoughts are. And then you know, once that dampening thought comes up, what the predictable pattern in your nervous system will be. So you're really highlighting the awareness of your nervous system in this
right, because the nervous system works on a both and principle. It both wants you or needs you to find the moments of safety and feel the cues of connection, and it wants us to identify what brings danger and dysregulation and work with that. So savoring is about the positive, the connecting, the safety, but it also highlights what are some of the cues of danger that you can then work on in different practices.
And Deb, if I might jump in for a minute, speaking of savoring, I know that you don't do self-promotion, but we have 2.5 minutes left, and I want to just kind of give you a quick little promotion before the next question for your book. And there's a code that your publisher Sounds True has given, which is Dana, DANA 25 for the Nervous System Workbook. I have a preview copy of it, and I've gone through it several times. It's really helped me through the last 6 months. So thank you for that.
I'm glad,
Deb.
Jerry.
And there's that shameless promotion. And back to you, Stephanie.
Thank you. I want to thank Sounds Truth. They are a really lovely organization to work with and have a commitment to helping people nourish their nervous system. So, yeah.
We have so many questions and things that people have put in the chat. And really, I think that you're highlighting what we're talking about here is these practices of bringing attention to the nervous system and to be able to, people are asking, what's the difference about the stretching and I think it's all the same, right? It's you're highlighting
the nervous system is the foundation of our lived experience. It's where everything begins, and it is working implicitly in the background, micro moment to micro moment. So any of these practices and any of the any of the other ways that you have courses on PVI or other books I've written are about bringing explicit awareness to this implicit experience, because we can't do anything with the implicit experience. We have to bring it to awareness so that we can then do something with it. So, all of these practices are a variety of ways to move into connection with your nervous system, learn to listen to what it's telling you, and then be able to do something with it.
And you're really not demanding any change at all. You're just saying, notice it. And then, okay, just now you might stop now. Where I think people have a tendency to push through and try to like, I'm going to get really good at this, you know. But I really love your gentle approach, and thank you so much for sharing all these practices with us. And everyone's so excited to be here. Susie?
Yeah, thank you so much, Deb, on behalf of all the PVI team and family and community. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for being here with us today. I just want to encourage everybody. I put also in the chat the link to Sounds True with Deb's discount. If you don't already have the Nervous System Workbook, please go get it. Also, there's tons of resources on the PVI website, so definitely go look there. Also, I want to invite you to join our online community, which is a great way to connect with other individuals. And I guess in closing, I know I learned so much from today, and I'm really going to try to look for those small little glimmers in my experience today and savor them. That's what I'm gonna hope and hope that for all of you as well. So thank you so much.
Lovely.